Welcome back to Shedlock 2000's Land Rover related channel thing. I have just realised, having briefly posted a couple of videos, that my introduction to the channel says, oh, it's all going to be about the Defender. Well, apparently that went right out the window, didn't it? So now he's Shedlock 2000's Land Rover channel. I'm going to probably have to record a new video, I guess. But anyway, 'tis the season. You might have noticed by the fact that there's some puddles of water kicking about here, but it snowed this morning, and we haven't got much, only, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches or something like that, but very unusually for Lethbridge, it's quite wet snow, and that's resulted in everything being a bit skatey, because of course it's compressed, it's become smooth on the surface, and now it's had a bit of a thaw as the sun came out during the day, and and where are we now? Well, we're scooching about on me these tyres, he says, pushing these out of the way. These are the Cooper the Cooper AT3s, and they're sort of Cooper's version of the Duratrack. They are allegedly 3 Peak Mountain Snowflake Tyres. And I just wanted to clear something up about this 3 Peak Mountain Snowflake malarkey. There are all-season tyres, which most AT3s and mud tyres float in that sort of category. And then there's another category called mud and snow. And those are generally tyres that tend to be a little bit more aggressive and have a more sipes to remove water and slush and all that kind of stuff. And then you've got a set of tyres called, that now, this is relatively new within the past sort of 10 years, called the 3 Peak Mountain Snowflake, and they've got a picture of a little mountain. I'll show you a photograph. Now those tyres are importantly distinct from dedicated winter tyres, but what they basically mean is that they've passed some sort of benchmark. And in the test of these 3 Peak Mountain Snowflake tyres, there is a benchmark, and they've got to perform within a certain sort of stopping distance, or within a certain sort of grip and all that kind of stuff. So they test them to make sure that the tyres meet this benchmark. The downside is that the benchmark actually isn't very competitive, or very challenging is the better word. And so tyres that are sort of 3 Peak Mountain Snowflake don't necessarily have to perform much better than what used to be mud and snow. It is indicative that the tyre has been designed with consideration to being a 3 Peak Mountain Snowflake tyre, so it's not that they don't have to be better than a regular mud and snow tyre or a better all-season tyre. They do, but the benchmarks aren't massively challenging. Some tyres that are 3 Peak Mountain Snowflake, and these are an example. These are a Nokian Hakkapeliitta 9, and these are a 3 Peak Mountain Snowflake, but these are significantly better than these, and these are a 3 Peak Mountain Snowflake as well. And so what I'm trying to say is that although you should be looking at winter tyres in buying a 3 Peak Mountain Snowflake as your minimum, there is much variation within that category, and there are many other types of 3 Peak Mountain Snowflake tyres as well. The Falcon Wild Peaks are 3 Peak Mountain Snowflake. Most sizes of Duratrack are. The Nitto Terra Grappler produced one which is 3 Peak Mountain Snowflake rated, and so on and so forth. However, these are dreadful. Did you hear me channel my inner Clarkson? Terrible tyres. They're rubbish in the snow, in the smooth and wet and slidey snow, which is why I've got these winter tyres. I mean, I always run winter tyres anyway, but like proper good sort of dedicated winter tyres, and these are an all-terrain, which indicates that they're not an actual dedicated winter tyre, despite being 3 Peak Mountain Snowflake rated. Anyway, so the story is, I'm going to change these tyres. I'm going to change these tyres for these tyres, because as much as I love these, they aren't the best in winter, and you'll see a couple of my earlier videos in Tyre Talk discussing their various performance. I have noticed, which is always the case with all-terrain tyres, and that is a function of the siping here. The more you wear them down, the worse they get. So if you remember right back to my video on the Arctic Circle, you can see here I'm in Snowland. I'm actually on the Dempster Highway. Long story, don't ask. And I've got fitted 265 60 20s on the Land Rover Defender P400. Now I'm in grass, gravel and snow mode, not because I'm particularly twitchy about grass or snow, or gravel for that matter, but mostly because if I spill myself on this stuff here, it's literally 200 miles to the nearest rescue centre. There's no signal and no drama, no nothing. So what I wanted to do was I wanted just to have a quick chat about how they're performing up here. Well, as you can see, I'm cracking on up here at 67 kilometres an hour without so much as a by your leave, and I've never had any slip or slide or anything of that ilk. Now, a lot of that, of course, will have to do with the fancy technology on the Land Rover. Aren't these trees pretty? Look at that, aren't they? They're the best, aren't they? All fluffy and white and everything. Anyway, the Land Rover's technology, of course, will be doing a fairly significant level of work here. And the tyres are doing a grand job, really. But I did want to just show you what happens when you stomp on the brakes. Now, the tyres don't slip so much because, of course, well, they've got pretty good bite, but because of the ABS. So I'm just going to go down to this bit here, and I'm going to stomp the brakes. I'm doing 60 kilometres an hour here now, and I'm just on a gentle downgrade, and I'm just going to start the brakes when I just get onto this bit of a flat here. Okay, I am now applying brake fairly hard. Now that's hard down. Now, that did take a lot longer than you expected, as you might anticipate, but what was going on there was not slip. That was actually the Land Rover grass, gravel and snow mode taking over. The tyres weren't dreadful, they weren't great, but they weren't dreadful up there, and they are now dreadful, and we've only had a slight smattering, so I've now chosen, having scooched around a corner in a way that I didn't want to scooch, I've now chosen to change them. So, without further ado, let's get cracking. Now, I've done a lot of these videos before, and broadly speaking, Land Rovers these larger Land Rovers are much the same. The platform that this D5 runs on is very similar to the platform that the Defender runs on. This is the 7 platform, and the other's the 7X. There's probably another couple of numbers in there kicking about and letters or whatever, but they're very, very similar. For the Defender, what they did was beef things up a bit, but broadly speaking, the lug nuts are the same, and the jack points are somewhat similarly positioned, and the stuff that goes on in the wheel and the brakes and all that kind of stuff are broadly similar. And so if you're doing this particular job on either a Defender or a Discovery, you're going to want a 22mm socket for your what they call lug nuts over here. We call them wheel nuts. I don't know why you lug them up, I suppose, but wheel nuts. These are wheel nuts, people. So you need a 22mm socket for that. This is a Torx bar. This is a torque bar. It's a specific tool that allows me to torque up the wheel nuts to a specific tightness. And it is used in conjunction with this gun, and basically what happens is when you put this on here and you whack it up, the internal strength or rigidity of this bar loosens. It starts to shake, and it doesn't communicate drive directly to this thing, so that allows me to know that my wheel nuts are tight. I do suggest that even though you torque them up, once you've done about 50 or 80 miles or something like that, you should probably just go around them and check them again. I recommend something like this, which is a trolley jack. There are many types of varieties of jacks that you could use. This is a cheap 3.5 ton jack from Canadian Tyre or somewhere. It's not a very good one, but it does work. You probably won't use this tool, but this tool is to just whip this hubcap off, and these have got obviously the original Defender things going on, so that doesn't have an hubcap. You just whip them off, and basically that's it. So those are the tools you're going to need. This box here contains the special wheel nuts that I use for this for this wheel, because they're not a Land Rover wheel. These are a wheel that I've purchased from Fast Wheels, I think they're called, because at the time I couldn't find a set of 20-inch rims. Oddly enough, I've got too many sets now. I've got sets that I can't get rid of. It's funny, isn't it, how it works? So I bought a new set for the Defender because I couldn't find any. Anyway, I've got some now, and these are almost the same load rating as these Defender rims. I think there's only about £5 each corner shy, but they're broadly speaking the same. But they do have a different sort of nut. They have this weird sort of spiky affair, and of course it requires a special tool to undo them. So these are a bit of an oddball, really. These are 265/60/20s. They are oversized for the Discovery and they're oversized for the Defender. When these were new, they were very nearly a 33-inch tyre. These are a 275/55/20. Everybody knows that these are a standard sort of a very interesting size for they're not a standard size, but they have become in our circles a standard fitment, and they fit without any chafing and messing about. And these run about a ½ an inch lower in profile than these, and these are about an ½ an inch wider than these as well, 10mm wider. So these are a little bit wider. I would prefer for snow taller and narrower, but you're sort of constrained by what's available. When I bought these, Nokian did not make a 265/60/20, but now they do, and they make it specifically for the Defender. Rather annoyingly, when I spoke to Nokian last year when I owned the Defender and said, oh, you should make some new tyres, they said, we're not going to be making tyres for a vehicle, a single vehicle model in a single manufacturer's single manufacturer, so it was too small a requirement. But apparently they have now changed that, and they have made a 265/60/20 that you can buy for your Defender specifically, and that's what it was created for. But a 265/60/20 will fit on here because it is. Right, let's crack on. First thing you do, of course, is to jack the car up, or at least put some tension on the jack. Underneath here, and same at the back, you'll find as you go right underneath, there's a big flat spot. You can see there's a sort of a space at the side of this plastic trim here, and behind it is your jack points. And these things, you can just put this the cup of your jack underneath it, and away you go. Do not press on whatever that is behind it. I don't know whether that's, I mean, it's fairly chunky, isn't it? But I don't think that's jackable material. This is what this is for, and so jack it up there. There's one at the front, and you can just see where that sits here, and then there's a similar one at the back. If I can just turn me light around, you can just see the same type of hole at the back. In the past I have used bits of timber because I've always been a bit sketchy about the thing sliding off, but this one seems less bothered about it than did the Defender for some reason or other. And then you just locate this on there. I'm just going to pop a bit of pressure up there. Always leave this jack handle up, and the reason I'm going to do that is because old school techniques tell you to crack the wheel nuts with the wheel on the floor, and the reason for that is because with a bar, when you're standing on the bar, the wheel has got the traction on the ground, and it rocks about a bit, really. Well, if you're doing that while the wheel's in the air because it's on the jack, now the vehicle's less stable. It's less of an issue with tools such as this because, of course, there's not actually the rocking effect. It's just a hammering on the nut itself. But because I'm old school, I'm going to do it that way because that's the way I've always done it, and there you go. Probably saw that move more than it needed to. And then jack it up. You should always be out of the way of the car just in case it decides to twist. And you see there's a bit of movement there in the wheel. That's sort of normal as the pressure of the drive comes off the wheel, and so you may or may not get a bit of movement. whip that off. Last time I did an engine change video, I did point out to you that while I was poking under the hood, or the bonnet as they say in England, I do like to have a good look around, and this is exactly the same when I'm changing the tyres. Adds a little bit of time, but it does allow you the opportunity to be more aware of what's going on in your car. You can sort of anticipate things that may happen in the future, and you can fix things that are problems directly. Now, when I just whipped this wheel off here, and I should have recorded it, but this is the ABS wire, the wear sensor wire, and it had come out of here a little bit, and it's still quite loose. It's not very fast in here, and so I just shoved it back in because it was sort of dangling. And these are the sort of things you want to look for. You can see how the other one is far better. It's far more secure in that than this one, but I've shoved it back in and it should be better. So now you want to look at things like the integrity of this brake line here. They do have a habit of chafing, and where the swaged end here fastens onto them, they can sometimes leak here. You want to look at the general condition of them to make sure that you've got no cracks or perforations or perishing going on. And again, this is going to be a bit tricky, but look at the other end as well to make sure that the other half of this flexible brake line here that you can just see me waving, the same is true of that disappears into the back here, which I can't show you, into the back of the this affair, and then into the cylinder and so on. And then if I bring it around here, you'll be able to see the other half of it here, if that makes sense. Now, this thing here is a wear rubber, and it's designed to fit against this. I forget what they call that. Is it called an ankle or a knuckle or something? I think they call it. Anyway, this thing here, so it slides against that and would wear. It's important to make sure, he says, and I'm going to struggle, but I'll try to show it, fitting nicely against that and not sort of, not further down or out, and the pipe itself is rubbing on it. Then you can have a quick look at your brakes. Obviously, you can see the vented things. These are brand new. I've just fitted them. They were fitted, sorry, just before I bought the car, but you know what I'm trying to say. And then if you look down here, you can see, perhaps you can't, but you can see the amount of pad that you've got showing. And these are new pads, so I know that that's not the end of the world. If we look in this way, you can perhaps see a bit better that there's a fairly significant level of pad left. You can't really tell anything about these knuckles because you kind of need to have them on the ground and move them backwards and forwards in order to see whether there's any play. But these are the kind of things that you need to be looking out for. This is a particular favourite. This is your the suspension sensor that tells the vehicle how high or low your vehicle axle is, and sometimes the clips come undone, and sometimes these little rods break here, or you get wear on these pins, and sometimes these electrical connections come off. Sometimes they're hanging off altogether. And in the top, of course, at the top of this wishbone, you need to make sure that you've got a good bolt through there. It's all nice and tight and tidy, and the rubbers aren't buggered. You can't see much on these things, sadly, but you do want to just have a bit of a see around to see if there's any leakages or splits in this thing to stop your damage to your airbags and so on and so forth. And so basically, before I start whipping this tyre back on, I will always have a look at this general area to make sure that it's in good order and I can put the wheel straight on. Now, these tyres are directional. You can see that there's a bunch of arrows in the tread, and they're pointing forwards, and this has to go in this direction, which means that the outside of the rim and the arrows pointing forwards need to be largely in the direction of the vehicle. Of course, that doesn't apply when you're going backwards, long story, don't ask, but the primary direction needs to follow these arrows. There is always a notification on the side of the tyre somewhere to let you know if it is a directional tyre. I've shown you this before in some of my other videos, and I'm going to struggle a bit here because I'm actually going to have the wrong hand on the job. But there are two ways of locating this tyre on this spigot. The first way is to use the tool that they actually provide you with, which you sort of screw on one of the bolts and then hop it on and everything sort of slides in place. But There's nothing wrong with that, and they do use, I mean, they give it you for a reason, but I'm old school, so I use this bar. Now it's generally agreeable just to take a look at where your studs are and where your wheel holes are. I can tell that mine need to be that way a bit. I'm much better with my other arm, so this is my bad arm. Well, not my bad arm, but it's not my dominant side, so I'm going to struggle. I put my foot just under the tyre there, and that helps me offer it up and stops it rolling. And then you just pick up the wheel with the bar, and as soon as you find, I sort of tilt the top in a bit really to help me find the stud, wherever it is, there it is. And then once it's on, then I can let go of this bar, but my foot, I'm putting a little bit of pressure on my foot to lift the wheel up, just as I grab one of these nuts, which I should have had prepared, and then I can offer it up fully, like that, and get a nut on the job. And you only have to hold it on to stop the wheel itself falling off. And there we have it. Now you can get another couple. Do you know, it's amazing, isn't it? I'm pretty good with my left hand in many things, and I can often get little nuts and things, if I have to lie on my arm and get a nut out, but like jobs like this I can't do with my left hand. I do need that dominant right arm to be able to do anything. Anyway, there you go. So you whip a couple of these on, or whip them all on actually. And then I'll use this tool and the appropriate socket, which is not actually the socket I've bunged on me gun, just to whip it up. Now I'm just going to screw these up by hand just so I can let go with my knee. You've noticed I put my knee on the tyre to stop it moving, and so I'm just going to let go of that and go and find the appropriate socket, and I'll be right back. Now, because I'm in North America, these aren't a metric size. These are 13/6. This is a 13/16, and you only use this torque bar when you're fastening it up. So I'm just going to put the 13/16 in, and then this is the bar that I'm going to use in order to torque the wheel nuts up. And one of the things that they don't teach you these days, but really should, and I don't know why they don't. I actually saw the AMA's advert on my Facebook page the other day, and this fella was standing for a photograph, and he'd got the wheel on the floor and this gun, the wheel in the air and this gun that he was clearly using to fasten or take the wheel off, I'm unsure which, but he didn't follow any of the basic sort of fundamental safety practices, but anyway, what do I know? So I've got this gun set on 3 because the torque bar will resolve any ambiguities in torque levels, and then just whip it up. And that's that. You can let this wheel down now, and I usually get out of the way before I do that, just in case it decides that it wants to move anywhere, and then let the jack down slowly in a controlled fashion, knowing that my light's in the way, and away you go. Now I know these fit, but if you're putting new wheels and tyres on, then you should really take the time to go around the back just to make sure that you've got clearance between the discs and the brakes and the knuckle joints and all these other sorts of things, and the wires and everything, to make sure that it's not catching. This is especially true if you're using non-landrover rims, because the offsets and the width of the rims can often interfere in a way that you don't want it. To be honest, these wheels were bought for the Defender, and you can see they do have a slightly different width profile. The offset of these are 35, and the offset of the Land Rover rims are 41.5, I think. So these stick out slightly more than the other ones, which I think suits this particular vehicle. But I wouldn't have gone with all black, knowing this. I went with all black because Finn was white. And so that's that. I hope that's been useful to you. I'm going to try and knock up a couple of videos on winter safety, and we've got an upcoming one on winter preparation, or preparing the vehicle for winter and preparing your vehicle for playing outside in winter if you go off-roading or anything like that. Richard and I are going to be doing that. There's just a few things that I think would be beneficial to know about preparing a vehicle for the winter that's useful, such as putting your wipers into the winter park position, siliconing the door rubbers so they don't stick, changing your screen wash for your winter coolant. We have summer and winter coolant here for obvious reasons, and winter tyres is part of it. But of course, there's a bunch of stuff that I do in the inside to add some safety protocols. Snow brush, some traction pads, a shovel, these kinds of things. Anyway, we'll go over that later on. Thank you very much for tuning in. Do please like and subscribe to this fantastic channel, and I'll crack on and do the other 4. Cheerio.